are an important job in our economy, and I'm saying this partly because I've worked on Wall Street for 20-something years, and partly because I actually believe it, is, if you think of economy as, and you can't, but kind of can, as Charlie Chaplin said, it's the gears of progress, and maybe our task is to make those gears more productive, but someone has to be there providing capital to grease those gears. And that's how you have to look at the finance industry and Wall Street, is as someone greasing the economy. Now, they get well paid for greasing the economy, but if you didn't have them, if there wasn't that capital, if there wasn't that pool of savings to fund, the programmer sitting there with the pile of Diet Cokes in his office, then a lot of things wouldn't take place. So many of us, myself included, because I used to work with guys just like this, think of Wall Street as, the old Wall Street movie and of Michael Douglas and Charlie Sheen. And there's some truth to that, but the reality of it is, at Wall Street firms, there are football field size rooms of people sitting there. If you look closely, right, there's guys with 4 or 6, right in that row there's a guy with 6 monitors, looking at God knows what. But in effect, they're doing short-term trading, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're trying to pick up nickels on the street, as they say, but they are providing the grease for the economy. All that exists so that the stock market can provide access to capital to those that are going to grow the economy and starve those that aren't. And if you don't believe me, look at Google and Apple stock versus General Motors and Citigroup stock. The stock market did almost all of the work of forcing the restructuring as it did, providing as much capital as Apple and Google needed to grow. Doesn't mean we can't get rid of a lot of those jobs, and we will, but you can't just shut down Wall Street and expect the economy to be productive. The New York Stock Exchange, which started in 1783 or something under a buttonwood tree, that's a different story, right? This is the low-end plumbing. This is, Lucille Ball and Ethel, was it Fred and Ethel, whatever it was. Merman, I knew it was Merman. This is it. This is sort of the assembly line where trading is done. And if you focus in, it's an outcry system. It's not much different than 1780 something. And yeah, they're slimers because they're providing grease for the economy. But a lot of these jobs we can get rid of. In fact, you can get rid of almost every job on the New York Stock Exchange and replace them with servers sitting in Jersey City in dark rooms, right, with fiber going to it. And increasingly, that's what happens. But you can't get rid of all Wall Street jobs because the stock market has been going up day by day, but on those down days, you need humans so you can take pictures of them looking disappointed to run on TV and in newspapers. So slimers are important. Okay, finally, and I think personally, this is the biggest opportunity. So when you're looking for what kind of code to write or what kind of systems to set up or what kind of things to do in the cloud, there's a lot of these different types of servers where there's a price umbrella that you can undercut and increase the productivity and help defrag the economy. But these guys are the ones that I think are going to come under the most attack, and they're not going to like it. But the thieves are the ones that have some government-mandated reason for existence, or a reason to have a monopoly in what they're doing. Like this guy, right? The cable guy. I mean, the cable companies have it's not a mandated monopoly because there is competition that is allowed, but what they do is they pay these bribes and franchise fees to local governments for an exclusive right to run, what is 1970s technology coax under the street to your house. And yeah, they kind of fixed it so they can, put cable modems up and we can get broadband, right, which is 2 meg, and when we should have 10 meg and 50 meg and 100 meg connections to our home. And we get the cable guy mentality, which is, well, too bad. I'm going to raise prices on TV service and I'm going to raise prices on internet access, year after year after year. And it's setting up this wonderful umbrella for, again, clever code to come in and price under. Telephone company, 100-year-old copper wires running everywhere that, we're overpaying for long distance and for switching calls. And it's a ridiculous drain on the economy. And it's already rolling over. You look at AT&T and Verizon, and the landline business is rolling over fast. But they're slow to change. They're fighting the change. The best thing we got out of them in the last 50 years was touched home, right? I mean, they're not the innovators. They're not creating the productivity solutions. When you have new services like Skype, and you have new services like Google Voice, where your two phones can ring, and whichever one you pick up is the one that. Why doesn't AT&T provide that service? Because they're a thief. If they did, it would undercut the monopoly rents that they're charging on those stupid copper lines coming to our home. Yet it's a clever piece of code that once it exists, and the FCC and regulators are going to fight about it. The technology is very sneaky, and it goes around the back and it strangles the beast. So thieves, I think, is if you could find a thief in this economy, you could come in and undercut them and win out. Cellular, same thing. We made cellular companies bid for spectrum, and they all spent billions and billions buying these virtual pipes to our phones that we carry in our pockets. And what do? Well, they just pass along what they pay to us, right? You pay these ridiculous rates for phone calls when it's not really necessary. Here's the innovation from the cell phone companies, right? Until the data side of cell phones come around. And it would be nice, because cell phone calls are still not any good when you know that you can just increase the bandwidth of the codec for voice calls, and you can have crystal clear voice calls, and they don't do it because they'd rather not spend the capital. So again, Wi-Fi calls, voice over IP, there's a million ways that clever pieces of code can come in and damage these thieves. And finally, I always look at any sort of government mandated, this is asbestos removal. I had did a remodel on a home, and there was, point to it, I think it was 2% asbestos in some piece of sheetrock, and tens of thousands of dollars later, I don't even know what it cost because I refused to look at the bill, $10,000 later, and a week of what the movie said of Virus, right, where these guys in the hazmat suits come, and it's all because there's some little piece of law that was written by asbestos removal companies pushing the legislation through. Here's the good news. All it takes is a stroke of a pen, and you can obliterate that monopoly. Although the way that our legislation system is set up, it's more of a stroke of a pencil up the nose, right? And so you can't wait for legislatures to come along and change the dynamics of an industry. You just have to do it yourself. When you find the thieves, you go and you undercut them. So we have servers, sloppers, super slopper sponges, slimers, and thieves. To me, this is the lens that I would look at the economy through. Charlton Heston is figures out that it is the economy needs to be defragged. The government workers are the ones wearing the football helmets, the silver football helmets, and the masses that do unproductive jobs and eventually get eaten are wearing the silly hats. But the reality of it is he's got it right. That the way to increase productivity is to eat people, or eat their job, is to eat those jobs, is to defrag the economy, is to replace low-end labor and even a lot of service jobs or low-end mental jobs and replace them with high brain power jobs. And life's too short for the wrong job. Well, I think we're at a mode, we're in a downturn in the economy, and the road to success is led through figuring out, again, what the next big thing is. And if you use this lens of who's doing what jobs and what jobs are going to be eliminated over the next X number of years, then that's the path to success.